Hey guys, it's Abby with MotorCityNerds. Hi to those subscribers. Welcome. I recorded a review. Well, I didn't. I just talked at a camera and didn't record it. So that was really cool. But earlier this week, after being sick last week, I got so violently ill. I'm talking about the most violent flu I have gotten in years. Oh, I can't wait to do my review. And then was puking everywhere. My entire family got sick because we were together on Memorial Day. So yeah, let's just get right into Interview with the Vampire, Season 2, Episode 3. Let's talk about it because there's a lot of stuff I want to talk about. And if you're new here and you haven't watched my other reviews on Season 1, just know, trigger warning for a lot of things. Because I don't like sugarcoating words. I think that takes away the magnitude of them. I understand why a lot of people do, and I understand toning it down, but saying things like unalive or things like that, I'm never going to do that. I can't edit myself that way because to me, it just takes away the magnitude of these things, and if these things are going on or abuse or things like that are happening, I'm going to say it. And so just trigger warning up front, because we got into this a lot last season, and I feel like this season it's been hidden more. Not hidden, but they're doing things in a different way, and now we're really getting into some toxicity. Can we start with this, though? The dude talking to Daniel, okay? And he works for that place in New Orleans that we saw in Mayfair Witches. Now, I read the first Mayfair Witches. I've read The Vampire Lestat, The Vampire Armand, and Interview with the Vampire, and Queen of the Damned. It's been a minute since I've read all of them. I read Interview with the Vampire last year after Season 1. I haven't read all of The Vampire Armand in a few years. I haven't read all of The Vampire Lestat in a few years, but I did read the Mayfair Witches one, and I did cover that show on the channel. And in that show, they have these workers for this society. Oh, Michael's in it, and we really like him. The black dude in Mayfair Witches, we really liked him a lot. He has kind eyes. That actor has kind eyes. He's somebody that you would ask for directions from. And as a lady, that's a big deal. That's a huge compliment. This guy is obviously working for them, and he's telling Daniel, like, yeah, we sent you all the files, this, that, and the other. I don't exactly know or remember everything about that, and I can't remember if it was in the Vampire Chronicles, specifically the ones about the vampires, not the Mayfair Witches stuff, as much, but it could have been. It's been that long since I read it. Armand is steady showing dominance over not just the people like Daniel, but also he's showing dominance over Louis with that floating thing. Anytime they're flying or floating or doing these special gifts, they're saying, I'm above you, literally. And that's what Armand is doing when Daniel walks in, and he's reading a book or something from the library, but I'm like, you're showing off. You're showing them still, I'm in charge here. But Armand sits down with Daniel and starts talking. And they're talking about back in the day when he first came to France, when Armand did. I loved how quickly we went through this, and I really do love this, and I didn't really expect this for Interview with the Vampire, this series, to combine the books. And I thought that they would take the slot of The Walking Dead, do all these spin-off type deals, and they still might do that instead of doing like a bunch of things offshooting. But now I'm like, no, you're kind of just incorporating all of it into Interview with the Vampire, which I really love. Also, did they get a tax break or a bonus or something? I'm like, maybe I covered the Daryl show from The Walking Dead, but that was in France. And now we're in France with this. And I'm like, did you just say we're already going to be over there, AMC, so we might as well just do the Daryl show there too? That got crazy, but I thoroughly enjoyed it. It was fun creativity, I will say that. Armand and Daniel are chatting it up, and Armand starts telling him how he came from Rome, and how the ones older than him sent him, and how he had this coven, and how they were kind of serving the church, and they get more into that, which I really loved how they explained it, but they got through this really quick, but really well. And again, the writing in this is like poetry. It's beautiful, and it was like this last season, so I want to say like part of it is it being in French. French is such a beautiful language, but it's beautiful. It's beautifully written, beautifully done. A lot of it is from Anne Rice, but like we always say over here, adaptations and film and movies are a different medium. You have to know how that works, and they nailed it with this series. But Rome sent them, and they live in this coven, and they live in squalor, and it sucks asshole. Oh, and they got all these rules, and well, there's 5 big ones, and all this crap. Because let me tell you guys that if I was an undead, doing whatever I want creature, I wouldn't be adhering to no rules. I just started Naruto, like last month. I'm really thoroughly enjoying that. Somebody asked those kids for an ID, and I was like, they're ninjas. The last thing I'm doing as a ninja is carrying an ID, ma'am. Are you kidding me? It was something to do with their school. I loved it, but still, I ain't giving you my ID if I'm a ninja. I ain't following your little rules if I'm a vampire. I'm doing what I want, which would probably get me off, but either way, I'm like, no. Tell me down in the comments, would you follow the vampire rules? Or, I mean, some of them make sense, but still, I'm like, they should be more like guidelines. We should be doing a Pirates of the Caribbean thing over here. Our boy's back. Our toxic, abusive boy is back. Lestat is back, and we get to see him, and we get to see him with Nikki, and I loved that. But also, the cape. You guys, I'll show you my cape. I have a very similar one, but the red, oh my God, I loved it. And they find him acting and being in front of everybody and breaking all these rules. And so now the coven's like, what's this guy doing? And Armand is like, this is shaking stuff up too much. But we find out Armand is actually into it, and he's been thinking these things for years. He just didn't know how to get out of it. And I'm loving the talking in the head while acting. It's so good, because if you listen to both the things they're saying, they apply, and it's great. And to be able to do that, for it to make sense with the audience in the story, but to us as the audience and to what they're saying to the other vampire, and have both work, it's masterfully done. But really, this coven and Armand are completely intrigued by and fascinated and infatuated with Lestat. And he's breaking rules, and he's walking amongst people, and he's dating Nikki, who's a human, and they're like appalled, but also very into it. When Lestat tells Armand to bite it and to buzz off, bozo, I was like, oh. And then when he's saying, oh, blah, 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 and he says a joke in French that isn't translated, and the audience starts laughing because he's laughing at Armand. He's like, ha, ha, ha. And Armand's like, you are degrading me in front of everybody. But everybody doesn't know that, obviously, but we do as the audience, but also with what he's actually thinking, saying to him, on top of when he turns around, and before that he says encore, like, I'll tell you again, and then turns around and bends over and shows him his ass. And I was like, oh my God, Lestat is back. Lestat is back. But Lestat is intrigued, and what gets Lestat is the mind thing. He wants to know about the mind powers, and I know this about you, and he wants the knowledge that Armand has. That's what Armand is using as a bait trap, same that he's doing with Louis now, to get Lestat. It's still manipulative, it's still abusive, but that's what he's doing. He's doing that with Lestat right now, and he does it with Louis in the present day. He is laying that bait out of going, I'm older than you, I know everything, I know this, I know that, and I can teach you all of it. You were Magnus's bastard. And that's my favorite name ever, by the way. He thinks he got him, and he kind of did, but not fully yet. Lestat is very happy with what he's doing. Even Armand says, the rejection inflamed me, and now the whole coven is really following Lestat and really watching him, and so is Armand. And he says it inflamed him. Now, if somebody tells you, let's just break this down in today, I tell you no, and you keep on coming, that's not really cool or nice, right? Now, if you know, shoot, let's use a real world one. If you've been around, you know. I lost my career of 10 years last year. I don't know what I'm going to do here soon. I don't know yet. But if somebody put in front of me after I said no, oh, I have this brand new career for you, it's this, it's that, you can do this, or something for the channel even, I will do this, we'll open doors, we'll do that, that would be a harder thing to go no to. But that's a toxic thing to do to somebody. You're not offering it out of being generous and out of being genuine. You're doing it because you know they need this. But oh my God, when we got the scene of Lestat and Nikki walking, and some people I saw in some groups were disappointed with the way Nikki looked, and I was like, what did you I kind of expected Nikki to be a little bit younger and maybe a little bit more boyish, but I'm fine with this version of Nikki. Now remember, the only thing Lestat brought to America, to the New World, everything else he left behind, the one thing he brought was a music box that played the music that Nikki wrote for Lestat. He really was into Nikki. That was his love. And that's what I mean. You guys remember when I reacted to this trailer in the very beginning, back in the first one, and I was like, if they don't make this gay, what's the point of doing it over? Because it is very homoerotic. You can just enjoy it for the vampire story, but it is. These things aren't explicitly said of like making out or banging, but I love you and I can't live without you, and it's extremely like that. I was like, you're dumb. And so them actually showing this on screen, you have to do. And the way they showed how much Lestat cared for Nikki just in that scene of how defensive and how protective he gets, I really loved that a lot. He goes full predator mode. He goes from smiling and getting out of the carriage with him and walking, and Nikki says, we'll be caught, and he goes, let him. And I loved all of that. I really did. I really loved it a lot. But when he says, somebody's watching me, and he goes, everybody's always watching you, all of that applies to the character, and it's great, and it's true. But when Lestat's face changes and goes, no, like, he's on full alert. He's going, I'm going to protect Nikki, and I'm going to protect me no matter what against whatever's coming at me right now. I don't like it. It reminds you of what they are as apex predators, the biggest predator ever. Nothing can take them down. They're top dog. They're top of the food chain here. But also, it shows Lestat and who he is as a character when it comes to don't touch what's mine, which is a toxic trait. But also, he does protect the ones in his relationships, his family, his coven. For lack of a better term, let's call it that. But Armand confronts him. And I really did. I love this confrontation of be with your own. And he's like, what? In squalor and piss and shit with you people under the city, telling him, I already know how you are. I already know who you are. I know all about you. I'm here, and I know you're here, and I don't care because I'm Lestat, and I'm top dog in my eyes. And Nikki gets defensive of Lestat, and he doesn't realize what he's up against. And I really loved that, too, of going, who is this? Who is this guy, Lestat? Like, he can actually do something, but he's still protective of him. It's like watching two lions fight with a gazelle in between them who doesn't know I'm also not a lion. Lestat said, don't worry about it, Nikki. He's nothing. I was like, oh, man. Oh, Lestat. And if you're new here, just know, same with Game of Thrones, same with this, polite shit-talking is my favorite. But specifically with these creatures, it's pop off for real crazy shit mode if we go into we're beefing town. You know what I'm saying? It's going to get real quick. So the polite shit-talking makes more sense of, are we going to be cool here? Because we know if we're not, like, we'll be discovered, we'll have this, he'll be dead, all these people will be dead, it'll be a whole thing. It'll be past me and you just fighting. So I saw some people complaining, saying that they're making it too, like, talky with each other, and I was like, no, it's because if we hit that magnitude, it's a wrap. But Lestat saying he's nothing, goddamn. But Lestat tries. Lestat goes for Armand, they start fighting, but Armand lets him know real quick, I'm way stronger than you, I'm way more powerful than you, I have gifts you don't have, and watch me use them on you. And that makes Lestat pissed, because he really did. He thought, I can take him, or at least stand a chance. I don't think he thought he was going to get his ass whooped that hard. But then Armand takes Nikki, and then Lestat's going to come back and take Louis. This is just Armand and Lestat and their breakup and the problems after it, and I'm now realizing. When Lestat came walking into their crappy little coven underground, holding the Jesus and proving his point, oh my God, I love it. They know this character. They know him so well. The over-the-top, the gaudiness, but I'm making a point and I'm intelligent. It was so good. Tells them, you guys ain't shit. Your coven ain't shit. Look at how you live down here with the rats. You ain't nothing better. And then they said, we serve God. And the way they explained that, I thought was really well, really eloquently done, and really good. How they said, oh no, we serve through doing this and that. And they really believe that. And we believe these laws, but you can tell Armand is not buying it. This is all a plan by Armand. And in the middle of the room the whole time, and you can tell it bothers Lestat, but he's not letting it on, and the acting in this is superb. If people are not winning Emmys next year, bullshit. Succession is gone. That was the best show on television at the time. This deserves to be acknowledged more. So good, because Armand knows I'm above you right now, but Lestat is not letting it show, but you can tell it bugs him. And seeing Nikki there, bled out, bleeding, drained, fed on, is bothering Lestat, but he does not let that on. And he tells them, this is a fallen tree, and just throws Christ at their feet and lets the statue break apart. He's not saying, Lestat and religion is brought up repeatedly. What he's saying there is, this ain't shit to us. This ain't shit to us. Whether you believe it or not, this ain't shit. This is just a relic. It means nothing. It holds no power over me, over you, and I really liked him wielding it towards the other vampire and it going, even though it doesn't do anything. Remember that line in the book and in the movie, and I love when Brad Pitt says it. Of course, nothing against our King Jacob Anderson, but when he says crucifixes, I quite like looking at crucifixes, and that's a huge part of the book when Louis is looking at the angel statues and the crucifixes and the gravestones. He does comment on that a lot, and it is a huge theme, but that's what Lestat is saying. He goes, I'm done here. I don't know of a God. I don't know of a hell. All I know is that there's me and you guys, and we are the gods here. You guys got it twisted. And these things you're afraid of are just relics. It's just a piece of wood. It's just a tree. It could be made into a table. It could be made into a chair. It's nothing to us, though. Let everybody else believe their little fairy tales if they want to. And then we hear Armand actually say it out loud to Daniel of, his words were my thoughts for centuries. And Lestat picks up Nikki and says to him, he's bled. You bled him. You fed on him. And he says, yeah. And he takes him, and he thinks he's going to bounce back. He tries to give Nikki the gift, and it doesn't work out. Now, you guys have to remember that all of these things being told to Daniel that we're hearing are from their perspective at the time. Claudia's notes are Claudia's notes. How Louis tells it is how Louis remembers it. How Armand is saying it is how he remembers it. And remember, one of their big rules now is we cannot put history on this. We cannot write it down. We cannot make it public. We cannot do a documentary about ourselves. That's not allowed. And that's exactly what Louis is doing with Daniel. That's what Claudia did with these diaries. I'm wondering if we're going to find out they're not even her diaries and Armand wrote them. Or rewrote them. Or something along those lines. So the story that we have about Lestat right now is strictly from Armand and strictly from Louis. And Armand comes back after the scene we have of him telling the coven off, holding the Christ, his big entrance. I really loved it. He comes back and him and Armand are talking alone. And we think that the coven is taken out until later on in the episode. But we think they're gone or they left or they're dead. And Lestat and Armand are alone at this point. And that's when they talk about Nikki and he says he was too fragile. And I like the amount they're doing it in French. I like that they're doing that and not just saying, oh, English is really French in the story. And no, it adds something beautiful to it that I really am appreciating. But when he says he was too fragile, wasn't he? And Lestat still, you can tell his defense. He goes, no, he's going to come out of it. He's going to come out of it. And we technically don't know if he ever did. They hook up. they're drinking out of each other, they're doing that, then I love how much Daniel is coming at that and he's trying to make Louis see. Don't you see what they're doing here? Don't you hear what he's saying? It's just this big dramatic breakup thing of you guys banging the same dude, or him being manipulative, or Lestat beating you up. Like, Louis, wake up here. Why am I having to tell the vampire to wake up? So they hook up. Lestat convinces him, come and do this theater thing, watch it, watch what I can do, watch what we can do with these people, and we can stay hidden here and it'll be great. And he convinces Armand to do that, and then in the middle of the show, we see all these heads turn around in the crowd and in the theater, and they end up being Armand's old coven. I just took everything from you. I took your crew, I took your town, I took it all. What are you going to do? He kind of checkmated Armand a little bit, but Armand likes it. And Armand has the upper hand still a little bit. He is older, he is wiser, he does have these other powers, but Lestat is finessing him, and he did here, and I think Armand just really liked it. He convinces him to do that. And then we fast forward a little bit and we see them in the box together talking about everything they've accomplished, talking about the coven, doing the theater stuff, doing all of that. Because Louis walks in and Daniel tries it once again going, oh yeah, and did you know? And he's like, yep. And then they hooked up and then they did this. And then, and this is the biggest line of dialogue here when Louis enters the room talking to Daniel, is he taught him the mind gift. He taught Lestat the things he wanted to know. And then he abandoned him. We never saw him again. He left for the new world. He left Nikki behind. He left Armand behind. He left the coven behind. And he dipped out after he got what he wanted. But they didn't say that explicitly. He just said Armand taught him the mind gift. He left Armand. He left Nikki here. And he left for the new world and left the coven behind. That's all they really say in the show. I'm paraphrasing a little bit. But that's what Armand did. He got what he wanted, finessed it out of Armand, and went home. And I think that's why Armand has such a... I think that he is intrigued by and does like Louis, and is infatuated with him and lusts him. But no, he wanted to take what was Lestat's, because Lestat took something from him and then dipped out like he was nothing. Like he told him when he was with Nikki, he's nothing. And that pissed Armand off. We said in my first review of this season, when Armand tells Louis he's trying to break you down to build you back up so he's the only one who can be there for you. That's what Armand does. That's what Armand did to Lestat, and that's what he's doing to Louis. I thought that was really well done. It throws you off a little bit. You don't really think about it, but when you rewatch it or you hear it, you're like, oh, okay. Now, like I said, we're going to get into some serious stuff. So now we are hearing Claudia and Louis talk about their plan to make it seem like Bruce, the creep to Claudia, was their maker. And they have this whole story about Cleveland and Cincinnati and Chicago and all this stuff. None of that even matters. We all know, if you've seen the movie or read the book, this goes south either way. They kind of know they're up to something, but they're really trying here, right? And this is what I mean about dialogue being so important all the time, is you don't always have to explicitly say things. Sometimes leaving it up to the imagination is even scarier or more horrifying or sadder. And when Claudia said, he kept me under the floor, we know immediately what situation she's talking about. And we're like, oh my God, because I kind of took it as something happened and then she got away. And that is not the case. She was kept there and had things happening to her and was being assaulted over and over and over again. And when she says to Louis, and they keep the camera on him because she's disassociating, she's looking off going and just saying it. Louis is the one going, oh my God, like I had these nicer experiences with love. And this is what she had when she says, he told me he loved me during, after, and before. And she says it she says it 2 or 3 times. And it's that's more horrifying even than the under the floor. And even she feels that. He told me he loved me before, during, and after. What he was doing to me, it was monstrous. And that's what Claudia has for love. That's what Claudia has with another person, with another vampire. And that's all she has. She didn't have an experience before she was a vampire. Louis did. Lestat did. And then together, toxic bad, but there are moments of love there. She didn't have any of that. She just has this brutal thing. And that was so well done, quickly said, perfectly said. It hits home, and we don't need to go farther than that because our minds make it even worse. And then she bounces right back into what she really wants to talk about, in joining the coven, how she's going to be in the play, how she's been working there. And she's a bit of a pledge, like at a frat house. But, nasty. But, not all of them, but most. But yeah, she's kind of getting talked about. But we see Armand says she's taking the abuse well. Like, it is in jest. It is in not fun. It can be a little mean, but we do it to everybody, and we're not like hurting you. But she's been working with the coven. She's been working at the theater. She's got to go do that. So she goes to do that. Armand comes in. He's, like I said, they're treating her in like the little pledge thing. They're calling her a name. They're doing this thing. They're telling her she can't look them in the eyes. All this stuff like that, right? And it's degrading, but it's nothing heinous. I also realized this season she hasn't called him Daddy Lou at all. Remember, she used to call him Daddy Lou and Uncle Les? I really loved that. And this season she hasn't at all. And I'm like, oh, because she's older. She wouldn't do that. In that one, she might be a vampire, might be all these years old, but she was a kid. She was younger. She was a little kid in vampire years. And when you get older, you stop calling your dad that. This, I think, was the saddest line in the entire episode. It's when Armand looks at Louis after Claudia leaves to go to the play and work, and he says, oh, the coven has grand designs for her. I think he already knew right there, we're going to take her out, probably. And you can stay, because I like you, but she's got to go. She's a problem, because he also wants Louis to himself. Coven has grand designs for her. You already had this whole plot plotted out, just like you did with Lestat centuries ago with Nikki. Now, Claudia is really taken with Santiago. And Santiago, that actor, I need to look up his name. He is killing it. He is killing it. He's great. They say he's the youngest and he's the strongest and all this stuff. But Claudia really takes to him and is really enamored with him. And he's the most vicious of them all. Now, this episode's called No Pain. And she's really taken with how Santiago can tell these sacrifices. No pain, you want this. And she's really taken with that and that certain power that he has over their mind. Now, if you notice, Claudia and Louis are being set up the same way these stooges in the audience are being set up. The same way they are preying on them, these ones are being set up that way in the wings. But when we see Santiago, and I forgot about this show is funny, and it's always been funny, and it has funny dialogue and witty dialogue, and I love it. And when Santiago gets mad about the sneeze, when the sneeze happens, it's funny. And then when they walk off stage, he goes, did you fucking sneeze? That was so funny. I love that, because those funny moments are the most relatable. We see that Claudia's having to do all this work and having to do this thing that this other pledge was obviously doing. And we have the rat box and the wet room, and we see the tombs of the other vampires and all of that. We see that the other pledge the Irish one, is very kind of like, okay, snooty. Okay, all right, you snooty. When she says, well, we had an incinerator at home, he's like, oh, okay. We get it. You're better than us. That's kind of how that came off. I feel like in every scene in this episode in particular, we got a lot of information underneath what they were saying, just like how the plays go. And we have him saying to Claudia, those ones go to the catacombs, those ones go to the sewers, those ones go to some place I don't know, and these are the tombs of the vampires that have been killed. We don't know if they're all dead in there, because remember, they sentenced Louis to that eternity in a box. But I'm thinking all of these ones are dead, but that's how she gets the info of, because she's kind of toying with Santiago, I felt like, in the beginning of their conversation in a minute, but not fully. And I think it's because she does genuinely want information. Yeah, after we see the rat box transfer, which I'm assuming is going to come back, we have her talking with Santiago. And they're obviously reading each other's mind. And it's kind of like watching two cats circle each other. They're like, okay, what do you got? What do you got? And then you can tell they do genuinely enjoy each other. He stops treating her like a pledge because nobody's in the room. So then he's looking her in the eye and they're talking. They're having a legit conversation. And I think he did get kind of upset when she says what she says about, oh yeah, is your maker this? And he goes, yeah, no, he's down in the tombs. And Armand is the one who killed him. He likes that they're both orphans. He says that. And then I really liked when he goes, oh, these are the powers I got from my maker who's dead. What did you get? And she says, I became a really great liar, or to lie well. And he makes the joke of, oh, well, you'll be a great actor then. But really it's like, okay, I see you. Because he's already kind of saying, I think you're a liar, when he says, oh, so yeah, which one are you from Chicago? You were Louis. And she's right outside at Gary, Indiana. And I'm like, to a foreigner, that might be right outside, I guess. But to us, we wouldn't say Gary, Indiana's right outside Chicago. Oh, she knows, oh, you're a little... I think you're holding something back. And Santiago is jealous of the attention that Armand is giving to Louis and to Claudia. But after she makes it very clear that she's like, you're the youngest, you're the strongest, I just think you're the best, his guard comes down. That vain part of him, just like Lestat, comes out. Their back and forth as actors is outstanding. Now, while Claudia's at the theater, Louis and Armand go for their little walk. And then they're sitting down at their cafe thing. And we hear him talking to Louis about, oh, the coven is prying with Claudia about your camera. And they don't know why you're so into human life and their humanity and all this crap. We don't know why you're so into that. It's weird to us. And he's just like, man, okay, whatever. And you can tell that Armand is really intrigued, and so is Lestat, with this part of Louis. And they like it. And it's almost like they want it for themselves, or just snuff that part of him out or see if they can. And like I said, toxic. But as of right now, Armand is still lying and going with, oh yeah, no, Bruce, right? And then they're at the cafe and we have the piano playing and they're enjoying that. And they're talking about variations of goodness and evil and all these things. And then Lestat starts creeping into Louis' mind, and he's sitting at the piano and he's sitting next to him and he's saying these things and the lyrics were coming right at Louis and all this stuff. But Armand already knew it. And he says, yeah, no. And Louis comes clean. Lestat was my maker, this and the other, yada, yada, yada. And you got to remember, look at the relationship this maker, Lestat, had with Louis, the one he made, the one he tried to make before with Nikki. Look at that relationship. Now you have to imagine these other ones probably have similar relationships with their makers if they don't despise them. Or both. But Armand tells Louis, I've known for months. I've been knowing, which means everybody probably knows. And Louis knows it's probably a wrap for me, but hopefully not. You promised you wouldn't hurt me, this, that, and the other. And he takes off all pissed. Louis ends up killing someone publicly in his frenzy, and it makes a mess, and they use that as a way to go, oh, look, he's letting us be known. He's breaking all these rules. Now we get to the night of, it's Claudia's initiation into the coven. She's on stage, all these things. And we have Santiago acting and talking to Armand in the crowd, in their mind, saying, you killed my maker for less, Armand. You killed him for less. And you're going to let them get away with this? That's bullshit. And Armand's like, okay, well, we'll do it after the ceremony. I'll do it myself. He wants Louis to be taken out. Louis is the one taking the rap solely for Lestat being taken out. Do you speak for the coven? Do you need them to die? Do all of you feel this way? And he's like, yeah, I speak for the coven. And the whole coven's kind of looking up at Armand because they're all listening, but they're blocking out Claudia and Louis. And like I said, we're showing Louis and we're showing Claudia backstage as if they are the people that are about to get sacrificed in this theater. Get to the ceremony. Louis not allowed to watch the whole thing because he's not a part of the coven. And Claudia is getting initiated, and they're like, oh yeah, and Santiago's got a big smile on. He's going to go read the book of the ceremony stuff, and we hear the laws a bit, but not fully. We don't see the full ceremony, but before that, Armand gives her a gift of a flea circus. And I think that was made to look like oh, look, you were alone and beneath us and this small creature before, and now you're a part of this. But the truth is, I think he was saying, you ain't shit but a flea. I think it was a bit more degrading than they're letting on. Same thing with what goes on with Claudia later on when she sees how they wrote her into the play. So because Louis can't watch it, him and Armand go on another walk. Really, Armand is going to corner him, and he's supposed to kill him. They go walking down the catacombs. Armand is going to do it. And then when Louis started saying, because he knew it was coming, he said, don't burn me, cut my head off. I've seen what sunlight does. I've seen what burning does. I don't want that. Just cut my head off. And he's fully willing to tape it. When he starts saying, tell her she's beautiful every morning, tell her she's this, he's thinking of Claudia. He's thinking about her in his moment before dying, not anybody else. And that takes Armand back. He's telling Louis, I've seen this story before. I've seen it before because he did it with Nikki and Lestat. But also, I've seen what happens when they make one too young. I've seen how this goes. It doesn't pan out. I've seen this story before, Louis. I'm much older than you. Louis is fully accepting his death, and that was beautiful when he was saying that. Tell her she's beautiful every morning, tell her she's this, tell her she's that, please take care of her, please do this. And I really do. I think that really shocks Armand because they're not used to any of them giving a shit about anybody else besides their maker or their partner or whatever. Right as Louis thinks he's going to die, the sewer opens up, and they realize they're right by his apartment. And when he says, you walked me home, I thought that was really sweet, and that told me that Armand was conflicted the entire time. He wanted to do one thing, he wanted to do another, but he didn't fully decide yet until that moment. Thinking of others, the humanity, that part of Louis, the taking pictures of people's lives that to them are meaningless and nothing, shocks them, and it takes them back, and Armand is extremely intrigued with it. But when they came out of the sewer, and I don't feel bad for me, I've talked about it extensively in my other reviews for this and last season, I was in a seriously abusive relationship. That shit ain't no joke. My heart goes out to anybody in that. I hope you can find a way out of it. I know it's not easy. It does not matter how tough and big and bad you think you are. It's hard. And when they have been able to put it into words so perfectly, though, when they're out of the sewer and Armand looks at Louis and says, did he break you? And he goes, no. And then he says, but I do carry him. Damn! That was on par with True Detective Season 4 when she said, now you carry her. Oh my God. It hit home, but that's exactly what it's like. No, they didn't break me, but I do carry it with me. I carry them with me. And that's hard to shake. We also see one more scene with Claudia and the coven, and she gets the script. And she says, I'm playing your daughter, because that's how she's viewed all the time. The kid, the youngin', and she is upset about that. She's sad about that. She's like, wow, I'm finally getting my opportunity, even if it's in pretend, to be something else, and you're still making me this. And they're like, I'm playing your mom, and I'm playing your aunt, and I'm playing your wet nurse or some crap. And it's like, she's hurt by that. But I think they're trying to break her down and degrade her and let her know you ain't shit. Same thing with the flea circus. And it's devastating because all these things that Claudia wants, she'll never have, and she never did have. And these experiences, and Louis would have been better off and Lestat would have just been better off letting her live. And Louis has to live with that. And that's also a part of why he accepts his death 5 minutes before or 2 minutes before, whatever it is. It's so beautiful and it's so well done. And I'm telling you, man, I think this is the best show on TV right now. And I truly believe it's being slept on. It is so good. And I'm like, if you're really going to have a problem with the gayness, I don't know what to tell you. Like, I really don't know what to tell you. Like, vampires are inherently sexual. Look at any vampire. You can just enjoy things for a vampire story. It's not going to turn you gay. But also, get over it. Get over it. Get over it. It's great. It's so good. And I'm just saying, if you're going to allow that to get in the way, especially if you're a fan of this series or of vampires, or you're just a fan of good TV, then you suck, man, and you are lame, and just get over it. Like, get over it. Because I truly believe that's why this isn't getting the coverage on mainstream stuff or getting pushed the same way. Another thing I really liked, the skyline changing. Did you guys notice that? That it went from New Orleans to Paris in the opening credit? That was really cool. I'm glad that it's trending on TikTok every Sunday and things like that now, but I'm like, that's totally what it is, right? It's totally it being gay. And I'm like, no, this is some of the best writing I've seen in a long time. I would say in the past 10 years, because we got through the Breaking Bad era, the best shows on TV, Game of Thrones, and I know people think it ended weak, and I do too, but I don't think it's the worst thing ever. Then we got Succession. And I'm telling you, Succession was the best thing we had gotten since Sopranos. That was the best show on TV since Sopranos. And then this came out, and I was like, God damn, this and Succession, I am a pig in shit. And more people aren't talking about this, and they need to be, especially if you are a fan of good TV or good filmmaking. This is beautifully, beautifully done. And I don't care. Get over your bigotry weirdness. I'm Abby with Motor City Nerds. Like, share, comment, subscribe. I'm on OF, I'm on TikTok, I'm on all the things down below. And yeah, I'm sorry this is so late, but damn, dude, it's so good.